When Sarah first discovered she was pregnant, she felt the rush of joy, fear, and anticipation that floods every expectant mother's heart. The faint lines on the test confirmed what her body had already been whispering for weeks. A new life was growing inside her. From that moment, she spoke to the baby each night, pressing her hands against her belly, singing lullabies, and imagining the face she would one day see. Every ultrasound reassured her. There was one baby, strong and healthy, kicking with a rhythm that made her laugh and sometimes cry with wonder. She and her husband, Daniel, spent months preparing for the arrival of their little one, painting the nursery walls a soft pastel, buying a crib, and filling tiny drawers with clothes that seemed impossibly small. The pregnancy was not easy, but it was not alarming either. Sarah had her bouts of nausea, fatigue, and those restless nights when sleep seemed like a forgotten luxury. The doctors checked her regularly, and every appointment brought the same news. The baby was thriving, the heartbeat was steady, and there was nothing unusual. When she worried that her belly seemed larger than expected, the nurses comforted her, saying every woman carried differently and she should not compare herself to others. She trusted them, letting her excitement drown out the faint voice of doubt that sometimes crept into her thoughts. The day of labor arrived with a rush of pain that nearly stole her breath. Sarah clutched Daniel's hand as they raced to the hospital, her contractions surging like waves that refused to retreat. Hours blurred into a haze of screams, encouragement, sweat, and tears. Finally, after what felt like an eternity, the cries of her newborn filled the delivery room. A boy, her son. The moment she held him against her chest, skin to skin, she felt a bond that words could never capture. His tiny fingers curled instinctively around hers, his eyes shut tight, his body trembling with the newness of existence. Sarah's heart expanded, filled with gratitude and exhaustion. She whispered his name, Ethan, and kissed his forehead, convinced she had just met her reason for living. The nurses cleaned him, weighed him, and wrapped him in soft blankets before placing him back in her arms. Daniel cried openly, his joy unashamed, as he bent over to kiss both his wife and child. Sarah closed her eyes, certain the most intense chapter of her life had just concluded. She was now a mother, and her baby was safe in her arms. The exhaustion soon overwhelmed her, pulling her into a restless sleep, interrupted only by the sounds of nurses moving about and the cries of her newborn. Hours passed. Ethan slept peacefully beside her. Sarah stirred awake to the hushed voices of doctors in the room, their words low, their expressions unusual. She blinked, disoriented, wondering if she had imagined the tension. One of the doctors, Dr. Lewis, approached her bed with a careful smile. "Sarah," he said softly, "we need to run a few quick checks. Nothing to worry about." Her heart tightened. She instinctively reached for Ethan, who slept undisturbed. "What checks? Is something wrong with my baby?" "No, Ethan is perfectly fine," the doctor assured her. "But during your post-delivery exam, we noticed something unusual. We just want to be thorough." Confused, she allowed them to proceed, though unease began gnawing at her chest. Nurses moved quickly, monitors beeped, and another ultrasound machine was wheeled in. She lay there, her mind racing, as the doctor spread cold gel across her abdomen. She remembered all the scans she had undergone throughout her pregnancy, all the reassurances she had received. But now the doctor's brows furrowed as he moved the probe slowly, deliberately. Silence filled the room, broken only by the hum of the machine. Finally, Dr. Lewis exhaled and turned to her with eyes wide in disbelief. "Sarah, there's another baby." Her breath caught in her throat. "Another baby? What do you mean?" "You're carrying twins," he explained, his voice both astonished and careful. "There's a second baby. Somehow, throughout the entire pregnancy, the ultrasounds didn't reveal it. The baby was positioned in a way that concealed them completely behind Ethan. It's rare, but it happens. We need to deliver the second baby right away." Her world tilted. She stared at him, shaking her head, unable to process the words. Another baby. How could it be? She had spent 9 months believing she was carrying one child. She had named him, dreamed of him, prepared her entire heart for him. And now, in a matter of seconds, she was being told there was another life waiting to emerge. The room erupted into controlled chaos. Nurses prepared equipment, doctors moved swiftly, and Sarah's body, already exhausted from labor, was thrust back into a whirlwind of contractions she hadn't even realized were still stirring inside her. Panic mingled with awe as she clutched Daniel's hand. His face mirrored her own shock, yet his grip was firm, grounding her. "Another baby, Sarah," he whispered, tears in his eyes. "We're having twins." The second delivery was swifter than the first, her body somehow summoning strength she didn't know remained. Minutes later, another cry pierced the air, high-pitched and powerful, shaking the walls of the room and the depths of her soul. A girl this time. Their daughter. She was smaller than Ethan, delicate yet fierce, her tiny body wriggling as the nurses lifted her to Sarah's chest. Sarah wept uncontrollably, holding both children now, one in each arm, as if the universe had just revealed a secret it had kept hidden until the very last moment. Her daughter's eyes opened briefly, a fleeting glimpse of dark, curious orbs that seemed to study her mother with uncanny intensity. Sarah felt an overwhelming surge of love, as if her heart had split into 2 equal parts without warning, perfectly balanced between Ethan and his unexpected twin sister. They named her Emma. The story spread quickly through the hospital, nurses whispering in awe, other patients marveling at the miracle. A hidden twin, discovered only hours after birth, it sounded like something out of a novel. Yet it was their reality. Friends and family flooded the room in the following days, bringing flowers, balloons, and endless questions. How could no one have known? How could modern technology miss something so significant? Doctors explained that it was rare, but not impossible. Twins can sometimes hide, one shielding the other from scans, especially if positioned back to back. For Sarah, the explanations mattered little compared to the miracle itself. She replayed every moment of her pregnancy in her mind, wondering how she had carried 2 lives without realizing it. Every kick, every flutter, every sleepless night, it had been both Ethan and Emma. 2 souls growing side by side, waiting for their grand entrance into the world. She felt both astonished and humbled, as though life itself had conspired to surprise her with the greatest gift imaginable. In the quiet of the night, when the hospital lights dimmed and the chaos settled, Sarah lay awake, cradling her newborns. Daniel slept in the chair beside her, his exhaustion evident, but she remained alert, studying the tiny faces breathing softly against her chest. She thought about the fear she had felt when the doctors first spoke of something unusual, the shock that had flooded her when she learned of the second baby, and the indescribable joy of holding them both. Her heart ached with love, her tears soaking their blankets as she whispered promises into the stillness, to protect them, to cherish them, to never let them doubt for a single moment that they were wanted, even if one had been hidden from her for so long. The coming weeks were a blur of sleepless nights, double feedings, endless diapers, and moments of pure wonder. Life became louder, messier, and infinitely more beautiful. Neighbors called them the miracle family, and strangers stopped her in the park when they saw the twins, eager to hear the story of how one baby had surprised them after birth. Sarah never grew tired of telling it, though she still struggled to find words that captured the magic of that day. It was more than shock, more than joy. It was the realization that life held mysteries beyond comprehension, that sometimes the most extraordinary blessings arrived when least expected. Years later, when Ethan and Emma were old enough to understand, Sarah told them the story of their birth. She described how Ethan had been her anchor during labor, how she believed he was her only child, and how Emma had emerged like a secret gift from heaven. They listened wide-eyed, laughing at the idea of one sibling hiding behind the other, and Emma always teased Ethan, saying, "I was the surprise you never saw coming." But Sarah knew it was more than just a funny story. It was a testament to resilience, faith, and the unpredictability of life. It reminded her, every time she looked at her children, that miracles often come disguised, waiting for the perfect moment to reveal themselves. And in that hospital room years ago, when she thought her journey of motherhood had just ended, it had in fact only begun, with not one baby, but two.